Hey there, welcome to this special GSPN podcast here on Blue Wire and GSPN. I'm Rohan, host of the Gyro Step, joined by Jordan Treske. We have a fun Gyro Step Win in Six collab here. Jordan Treske of Win in Six, of course. We are here coming to you right after the Bucks lose ended up being a thrilling game against the Boston Celtics, their biggest game of the season thus far. But before we get into it, Jordan, how are you doing?
Doing well. I'm doing well. I'm ready to dig into this performance of a loss that turned out to be a lot more encouraging than I anticipated going into this game.
See, okay, it's a little peek behind the curtain here. I've been a doomer all night long about this game. I am usually the one who's very, very optimistic, very, very positive energy. You got to go for it. And then just this game, just the 10-0 run to start, it just broke me. It just broke me as a basketball fan. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I've just had a long 3-day week so far. Wait, today's Wednesday, right?
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, we're recording on Wednesday. If that is not emblematic of what I'm trying to say, maybe it's that. But that 10-0 run, I was like, yeah, it's done. It's cooked. It's cooked like the turkey that's going to be cooked on Thanksgiving Day. But it ended up being a 3-point game with some fourth quarter heroics. But Jordan, you, Ty, everyone in the chat was just like, yeah, this is encouraging, and I was just here being a downer. So Jordan, let's start off on a broad scale. Why am I wrong to be a doomer?
I will preface this by saying I don't think anybody. I'm not going to say that you can't be a doomer because I'm sure there are Bucks fans listening to this that were really excited about this game. It's the first game against Jrue, so it's emotionally charged too. It's in Boston, so it's not like will be when he comes to Milwaukee because that's a whole other ball of wax. But there's a lot of emotions. It's the biggest, again, barometer game that we have seen with this team this early in the season. It's to see the game start off the way it did. It's very deflating to kind of throw up your hands and just be like, oh, we've seen this before, same old movie or whatever it is. For me, I went into this game knowing, even with Boston stumbling recently against Memphis and losing to the Hornets last time out in overtime, I just think they have found their footing very easily for obvious reasons. I just think the starting five is pretty locked in. They have really good players. They can fit very cohesively. Their best players or their most played players, I should say, seamlessly fit in different configurations, all that stuff. With the Bucks, we're riding high on this 5-game winning streak. And at the same time, we're like, well, we know things are going to get improved or get worked on as things evolved. But it was like, okay, if you just pile up the wins early and figure things out as you go along, that's more than enough for me, kind of thing. So when you face a team like Boston, who's very cohesive and very locked in and all this stuff, despite what the game ended up being, I just kind of felt like we're not there yet. And that's going to change, hopefully. But I just didn't think that they were there yet. The fact that they made this a 3-point game despite shooting their worst efficiency from the field the entire season in a game, their best players were really not good. Dame was easily the best player, and he didn't really figure it out until midway through the second quarter. There were a lot of things that went wrong against the Bucks, and the biggest thing too, they were chasing this game from the jump. It's really hard to get a win out of that if you're chasing for a lead for 48 minutes. And we've seen them do it before. We've seen the second half heroics and them adjusting or figuring it out or whatever the case may be this year too, even with the early stages of what this team will become. But I just thought it was really encouraging to see them keep kind of finding little things that would get them more, in the game, starting to hit shots, starting to get stops in very interesting ways. Thought the defense, even though they allowed 190 points, looked a lot more encouraging to me. It was just very explainable for why they gave up 119 points rather than, oh, like they gave effort. It was just Boston hit shots and all that stuff. So that's my big whole platter, the size of a turkey, of why I felt like this game was a lot more encouraging than I felt like going in.
That's fair. That is valid. One thing I will say is like the Celtic. It's hard not to feel like green with envy. Shout out to the Celtics podcast, Green with Envy, uh, about like how this team, the Celtics team, faced similar questions that the Bucks did coming into the season about like how are these new additions going to fit? How is it all going to be seamless? Like they have to completely change their style, and to see them hit the ground running is just like it's a little like, oh, that'd be nice, you know? Like, but I will say, like, even though that's just like a little bit of jealousy right now, doesn't matter right now, does it? All it matters is if the Bucks figure it out. First of all, if they figure it out, that'd be great if they did that. But just like if they're able to figure it out before the real games start, that's all that matters. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So if there are any Bucks fans out there like me who are just like, man, it'd be nice if the Bucks could hit the ground running, much like the Celtics did. Yeah, sure, that's valid. That's a valid point, but also doesn't matter right now, does it?
Yeah, I mean, not to play this card too, but I think this game was a hell of a lot more encouraging than any Celtics game that the Bucks played last year. And granted, one of those
Remember
was
the last game the Bucks played against the Celtics? I was there. I
yeah,
was at that game. It
I
was
believe they
just
lost by like 55 points. Not an
yeah.
exaggeration.
It was an absolute butt whooping.
Butt whooping. Christmas Day too. They
Yeah.
got their asses kicked. Yeah, there was just a lot. There's a lot more. I thought. Again, their hands were kind of tied behind their back. The fact that their offense, and knowing that their offense wasn't playing to the level that we've seen all season long, for what this Bucks team and how it's constructed right now, it's just hard to win games the way that they have been playing, and knowing that if they don't hit the shots at the clip that they have been in games, you're probably not going to win. You know what I mean? Like if they have off shooting nights and all that stuff. So yeah,
Because
just another.
if you have an off shooting night, you don't have that same defensive backbone that you've had in recent years. Like, and it's fitting that this game comes against Jrue Holiday and the Boston Celtics, but you don't have that just defensive mindset, like that absolute, like, yeah, this is a defense first team mindset to fall back on and sort of grind your way back into games, which it's really funny I say that, considering that's exactly what they did in the fourth quarter, which it's just like this game makes no sense to I'm struggling to try to process this game in real time, but it's like, yeah, what I just said is valid. Like they don't have that defensive mindset and backbone to fall back on, yet they somehow managed to go and get stops at every end of at the defensive end of the court. Yeah, all three ends of the court. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess offense, defense, officiating, if you want to say that, but just a weirdly officiated game, just in general. Overall, I'm not saying like the Bucks were disadvantaged. They might have been a little, but just saying overall, weird game, weird season, absolutely
Yeah,
a weird season.
they really let them play tonight. Both teams had 17 free throws, and there was some. It was very aggressive. It was not. I feel like we always say this when it's like big games. It's like, oh, this feels like playoff basketball and all that stuff. But it was very much officiated like that in terms of just letting things fly. Fouls that would never or would normally be called weren't called tonight. It was just high level, let them play kind of basketball. And I honestly, I kind of liked it more than if it was just choppy and, there was no rhythm to the game, because I felt like there was a rhythm to the game, even with the Bucks not showing a rhythm for large stretches tonight.
It's just, yeah, it's again, like I'm struggling to process this game in real time. But
Well, where should we start? Where should we start? Do we want to go? What player for you do you want to dig into first?
let's start with Giannis. Like it's proper. This team is Giannis. This team, like, he's the best player. It's got to start and end with Giannis. Not a great Giannis game.
No,
Not a great Giannis game at all, which is just funny to say that in a 3-point loss where he plays 36 minutes, he ends up being a +6. but just like that's also an indication that single game plus minus is really, really, really noisy and should not be used as like the end all be all. Just a
Unless if you're
little.
Jordan Poole.
Yeah, if you're Jordan Poole, it's fine. If you want to formulate takes about Jordan Poole, that's the only time you can use single game plus minus effectively. But Giannis Antetokounmpo finishes the game with 21 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 turnovers, 4 fouls, 7 of 20 from the field, coming off a game where he scores, what was it, 42 points on 23 of 26 shooting, or 20 of 23 shooting, excuse me.
He attempted as many shots as he made last time out.
Just tonight. Ridiculous. Like it's the ultimate peaks and troughs right there, because like we were talking about earlier, a lot of contact down low that was being allowed to play on, and Giannis was just, he was being met. The Celtics, credit to them, they had a lot of size, they had a lot of guys who could just sit there and just meet him at the rim. You have like a 7+ footer in Kristaps Porzingis. You have Al Horford, who somehow still he's still, I don't understand. Do you remember when he got that 4-year monster contract from Philly, and it was like, oh my god, why are you paying this guy who sold? That was like 8 years ago or something. It wasn't actually 8 years ago, but it feels
like it.
And he's still out there. Like, credit to him. Whatever he did in OKC, I don't know if he took trips to Germany or what, but it was like that year really revitalized him. But he's out there kicking, and credit to him, credit to the team for just, being able to throw bodies at Giannis in the paint. But also, it was uncharacteristic for Giannis. It really was. Like, there one play when the Bucks were, I believe, down 6, and he had a layup opportunity just to finish over, I forget who, I think it was Porzingis at the time.
I think yeah.
And he just missed the layup. And it's like, these are shots that he is so used to hitting. Those are the shots that he makes like his game on. And he's just missing it. And he just shakes his head and runs back on defense. It's like, yeah, that's the type of night it's been. Because 7 of 20 from the field for a guy who's had like the most efficient scoring of his career so far this season. Just an awful game.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I thought all of the kind of the worst habits that the Bucks have shown, even with this, knowing that this is a new team, it's a new coach and all that stuff, seeing the start that we saw and Giannis underperformed greatly, just kind of gave me flashbacks of like, no, this is not the way. Don't over dribble. Don't, as much as you want to see him aggressive and in transition, if he's got a head of steam and the court is just for him just to, gallop and get to the cup. I thought it's obvious that he didn't make good on all of his chances, or most of his chances, I should say. We saw a lot of bodies. We saw Jrue match up with him too, on top of Porzingis and Horford playing him very well. I just thought he was kind of indifferent. The shots that would come easy against a team like the Wizards, who again are not the worst team in the NBA, but
they might
close.
Be.
Pistons are giving them a run for their money. They're there's a lot of soul searching going on.
Did you see that the Pistons got flexed off NBA TV? Like,
that's remarkable.
Yeah,
that is really bad.
I think it was like a Pistons Lakers game. They got flexed off NBA TV. That's a new level.
That is a relegation that brings up the main Celtics or something like that. That's really bad.
It's really bad. But yeah, the Wizards are very bad as well.
Yes, they are. But the shots that would normally be very easy for Giannis to just dunk or get really good lay-ins and all that stuff, we have to remember a lot of that particular layup that he attempted, he's doing it like right under the hoop, which it's Giannis. He can still finish off those kind of takes at the rim. Tonight, when it's against a 7'4" guy that's has long arms, and it's really hard to just kind of like dislodge him from his momentum or leverage and all that stuff. It's just everything was really hard, and Giannis just made it a lot harder with trying to force the issue and very I admire him, but he can be bullheaded sometimes. So much so that when Adrian Griffin took him out midway through the third quarter, Giannis did not want to be taken out. And I thought that was a very interesting moment that I kind of felt like something like that was going to happen tonight if things went poorly, because we all know the stakes of the game. The players do too. So when something like that happens and it follows the normal shift of how they've been doing the rotation patterns, and Giannis just says, no, I don't want to be taken out because we're down whatever the deficit was at that point. Adrian Griffin kind of stuck to his guns, but didn't really. It was a really interesting moment, but yeah. Oh no, I just thought, as you mentioned, it was the worst kind of Giannis performance that we are used to see when, things don't go his way.
Yeah, and just to speak on that interaction between Giannis and Adrian Griffin, Giannis came out of the game clearly frustrated, didn't even go to the bench, just sat at the scorer's table. Him and Adrian Griffin discussing it, like just talking, like just like not like an actual altercation or anything, but just like, those two expressing themselves back and forth. And then it's like, okay, Adrian Griffin's like, I've said my piece. You can go back in the game now. Like, yeah. Like, okay, yeah. I'm explaining to you why I took you out, but okay, I will also listen to you and say, yeah, go, you can go back in the game now. Just a fun interaction. But yeah, it's just a little bit disheartening to see this type of Giannis performance after just the insane amount of success he's had against the Celtics in recent memory. Like going back to that playoff series 2 years ago now, he just absolutely dominated that series. The rest of the team let him down. Obviously, no Khris in that series, but yeah, the rest of the team let him down because he was doing everything. He had figured that team out, and especially like when you add a guy like Porzingis, who Giannis has also fared really well against in the past. It's just like something about that combination just threw him off. Maybe it's new. It's a new sort of iteration of the Boston Celtics. It's going to take him a little bit of time to recalibrate himself and figure it out. But I'm not too worried about it going forward. It's just I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
That every father, probably this holiday weekend.
Yeah, I'm really leaning into the holiday spirit. Do we have any other thoughts on Giannis? Giannis, by the way, is we'll do full stocks in a bit, but Giannis is getting a down stock. He's probably getting two.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think two is a very valid play here.
If we want to talk some bright spots, though, Brook Lopez.
He's good.
He dominated. He was for the first half, he was the only Milwaukee Buck that really showed up, because it was just really, really fun to see Brook just dominating using his size down low in a matchup that has traditionally not been his strongest. Like Brook Lopez against the Boston Celtics in years prior has just been it's been that notion of, oh, you can play Brook off the court. No, not necessarily, but if you want to have your strongest lineups against the Celtics, maybe they don't necessarily include Brook Lopez because of their switching defense and just the way they play. However, like I mentioned earlier, the addition of Kristaps Porzingis really alters the machinations of these lineups, and it allows Brook to really go out there and thrive, because if you're going to have a 7+ footer out there, so can the Bucks. Adrian Griffin's like, bet, so do we. We'll do it. And Brook really he made the best of what his minutes were. He was the best Buck. I don't know. I'd say. For consistently, yeah.
Yeah, he was, to your point, he was the heartbeat for this Bucks team throughout the first half, and why the offense was showing signs of life. I know the bench helped that, after a 17-point first quarter, but really of the starters and of the entire, 1 through 4 quarters, Brook was making plays. He was extending possessions, getting second chance points, hitting a couple threes, doing the things that, we normally associate with Brook, but just at a greater level because the offense really needed it. And we saw occasionally, like, he'll set a straight high pick and roll for Dame. Dame will hit shots, but he fed the big man too. And yeah, the guy was just a monster tonight. We've seen him make an impact defensively all season longer, at least since, instituting drop again. But Brook really, really kind of kept things going when things were looking as dire as it was during the first half.
Yeah, and that really bodes well for the Bucks going forward, considering if this is the team that, like, it's the Celtics. Like, those, it's the Bucks and the Celtics, and I'd say the Sixers based on the way they're playing. But that's the cream of the crop. That's the cream of the crop in the East. You're going to have to beat one or both of those teams to get to the finals. And it's just, if you have now a weapon, an additional weapon that you can use in Brook Lopez against this team that you previously couldn't, that's very, very encouraging. I don't think my downer spirit can hold me down for this long. I'm not used to it, Jordan. I'm not used to being a downer. I don't know what this feeling is like. So just it's the true Rohan is really coming out now, but who's being an optimist. But yeah, just being able to utilize Brook Lopez. Is he going to shoot this efficiently? Play this well again? I don't know. Maybe, likely not. But if he can even be like 70-80% of this on a consistent basis against the Boston Celtics, yeah, I'll take that. That's an absolute win. Jordan, maybe this game was a win. Maybe this was encouraging. Maybe this was encouraging, Jordan.
I like that I'm along for this ride.
You're down by 21 points, I think, is the max that the Bucks.
Yes, that was the biggest lead tonight.
Just went down double digits before even scoring a point. And it's a 3-point game.
It was not that bad. Like we don't want the Bucks to lose, but in losses, you kind of see where this team is, and you learn more about what is missing or what is lacking. And for starters, or at least in terms of Brook, he had 5 offensive rebounds. Bucks had 19 second chance points on the night. Boston just didn't, like, they have size, but they don't have, I don't know, it's weird. They didn't really just kind of finish out possessions defensively. And the things that we've lamented about how the Bucks have played defensively is like, okay, you force a good stop, but you don't finish it off with a rebound. We've seen a lot of teams just feast on the Bucks that way. And really, the Bucks kind of reversed it on themselves and really kind of force the issue in extended possessions. That's, again, when you shoot as poorly as you did, but you still score 116 points and come within 3 of losing a game, they found ways to kind of be gritty in the things that we've the kind of equalizing aspects of basketball that I thought were encouraging, that really kind of, I guess, made it as close as it was.
Yeah, it's the ebbs and flows of the game, isn't it? The ebbs and flows of the game, ebbs and flows of the emotion. Also, the ebbs and flows of player stats. And Jordan, I know you are a fan of Sleeper. I know I am a fan of Sleeper because, I don't know, I can't stop talking about it. I can't stop tweeting about it. I can't stop actually making picks. But I want to talk to the listeners, and I want to ask, are you using the Sleeper app for daily fantasy basketball? Because like I just mentioned, I am. Like we talked about earlier, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been on a hot streak. This game against the Celtics was not his best showing, but I know he's poised to rebound. So for the rest of these games, like against the Wizards on Friday, in-season tournament game, yeah, I'm going to go higher on his points, rebounds, and assists. If you think you know basketball, then try to turn your basketball knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on your favorite players. With more stats than any other daily fantasy app, just choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame or live. You can do it live in-game. Pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you could win up to 100 times your money if your picks win. Use promo code GYROSTEP, that's GYROSTEP, all one word, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for detail. Currently operational in over 25 states, including Wisconsin. So make sure you check out Sleeper today. I mean, yeah, for higher on that Wizards game. Absolutely, Jordan. But who should we talk about next in this game? Because the one guy I want to go to, who might be one of the most important players to take away from this game, Malik Beasley. I
not
baited
who
you.
I had
I
in mind.
baited you. I baited you. You thought I was going to zig, but I zagged, Jordan.
The new Jrue Holiday. Let's discuss him.
Let's talk about it. He did well on the defensive end.
Very impressive. Really, we've seen him do like the pressure kind of defense, and when you see him against Jason Tatum instead of, I don't know, insert middle of the road NBA player who is infinitely more talented than I am.
Who's the most average NBA player?
That's a really good question. And I don't want to sidestep it because I feel like I'm going to get really hung up on it. But the first name that I thought of, and it's not necessarily true, but I thought Zach LaVine.
I thought Zach LaVine too. But I know it's
but he's better
true.
than average.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's better than average. Then I went to the opposite and I was like Xavier Tillman. Like I don't know. Like let us know who you think the most average NBA player is, because it's a difficult question to answer.
It's a very difficult question. But Tony Snell is no longer in the league.
He's not, so and I think because that would be my default answer. But yes, Malik Beasley not matched up against your theoretical average NBA player.
But yeah, so seeing him kind of be 1-on-1 and really get into Jason Tatum's gorilla, or if it was Jaylen Brown, I'm like, oh no, this is not good. And he didn't just hold his own. He was creating deflections. He's really bothering their shooting rhythm and just how they're getting shots off. I thought he did really well and held up. I kind of was surprised that he only played 23 minutes, but that is kind of in line with, bigger games. And again, the Bucks are kind of really, not kind of, they're really small in terms of their wings. And based on Boston's size, 2 through 4, or basically 1 through 5, if you're talking about the starters, but you kind of have to match them up with size. So if you're having Dame out there, you can't have Malik out there for large stretches until the fourth quarter. But I just thought, for the way that he was holding his own, it didn't really force the issue of shooting. Like, he only attempted 3 shots and made 2 of them. I thought he was worth maybe more minutes tonight, and we've just seen an improved turn of play for the last, coincided with this Bucks winning streak that obviously came to an end tonight.
Yeah, I think he really held his own on the defensive end, which is just insane considering a lot of the stuff that I've been saying, about how it's been a struggle for him defensively. I still stink. Yeah, I still think it's I don't stink, by the way. I still think that Malik Beasley should come off the bench. Well, I'm putting up a stinker with my words right now. But just if this team's fully healthy, but they're not fully healthy. Boss man's still out. Get well soon, boss man. He's on paid
PTO. Bossman's on PTO.
he either would have gone 0 for 7 from deep tonight, or 5 or 4 for 5 from deep tonight.
Yeah,
nothing in between.
Which is why he's not the most average NBA player, because he's the hottest streaks or the coldest streaks.
I'm gonna keep thinking about it as the most average NBA player, but when the Bucks are fully healthy, I'd still think Malik Beasley should come off the bench. But in this game, he proved that while Bossman 99 just remains out, he's fine. He's holding his own out there. Offensively, it was a bit of a struggle for him, but defensively, I can't even say struggle. He was 2 of 3 from deep, but it's just only 3 shots is the issue. Maybe it's a minutes thing, maybe it's a matchup thing, but yeah, he just was not being able to get shots up in this game. And yeah, it's weird that the offense held him down rather than the defense in this game.
I think that kind of points to the bigger issue with how the Bucks played, and it's kind of remarkable that they scored as many points as they did because of it. But whether it's Adrian Griffin, whether it's Coach Bud, whether it's Jason Kidd, whether it's Larry Kristowiak, the Bucks' bad habits of how the cut. Sorry. But when the Bucks offense just kind of drags down to the mud, it's the one-on-one ISO ball. There's not much movement. It's very just kind of like, oh, you check a shot up early in the shot clock, misses, and it goes the other way, and you're not playing defense. That was kind of what we saw for a lot of it, or the over dribbling. MarJon had a possession that kind of just immediately was the epitome of all this stuff, where he had a really good defensive stop, really good. I think even fought for the rebound really well, brings up the floor, and immediately just puts up this very out of rhythm three that is not MarJon's game. Maybe it will be in the future. Who knows? But it was like, that's not the shot that situation calls for. And it was I think third quarter was when things were starting to the Bucks were starting to figure things out. And I just thought like they were really, I mean, it's part of, again, searching for some kind of signs of life or a spark in that way. But when you manufacture those things rather than do the things that the Bucks, how we think of this offense now, and Malik Beasley embodies, when things are flowing, getting that side-to-side action. He's not the guy that initiates actions, but he profits off of, hey, if Giannis is getting two bodies coming to him at the rim, he's going to kick it out, and Malik Beasley's wide open, so he could do his little wiggle, whatever dance that is.
I saw a tweet that almost got me. It was a fake, just like, yeah, Malik Beasley's been fined like $250,000 for this dance. Adam Silver's like, no, we can't do this in the state. And I was like, it almost got me for a second, but it was really funny.
We're getting back to basketball. There's no wiggling allowed in Adam Silver.
It was a really funny fake tweet. He was like, there's so many children that tune into this game. It's part of the fake quote. And it's just so funny. But sorry, continue.
No, I just thought when you see a lot of Dame trying to figure things out, with Giannis trying to figure things out, Khris was 4-14. Brook, had 18 shots and scored 28 points, but a lot of that again was around the rim, and it necessarily wasn't in the flow of the offense, at least initially. I just thought, eventually there's just not going to be a lot of shots around, and therefore Malik's offensive usage wasn't as, or what we've seen over the last week and a half or anything like that. But I also just think the Bucks didn't really do themselves any favor by not involving their kind of a guy like that who can really set, a spark and create flames with his 3-point shooting.
Yeah, someone who's shown in his short tenure with the Bucks so far that he can absolutely catch fire.
Yeah.
Like he's
Hunger Games.
Jordan, I was gonna say he's Katniss Everdeen out there. I mean, like you needed to give me 2 seconds.
Sorry.
And I was gonna get that out there. This is what happens when you put the two people in GSPN who make the most puns on a podcast together. It's just stuff like this happens where we try to out pun each other, and it just results in nothing. But yeah, he was really lighting it up like those arrows out there. He was, how do I make this into a relevant thing? He was singing like Rachel Zegler out there. She's in the new Hunger Games movie, right? This isn't sponsored or anything. We're just doing
really, you really like Hunger Games.
It's in the zeitgeist.
It is in the zeitgeist. That is true. That is true.
I'm trying to relate to what's happening. I've lost the thought here, but
Malik
Beasley, yeah. It's like, I like what you said. It's more about like, if you can find him in the flow of your offense, that's a good sign that the offense is humming along, because he's a guy, like you mentioned, who's going to profit a lot off of the other guys like Khris, Giannis, Dame. I almost said Jrue. Just being able to create. So he's going to be the one that profits. So if you see a Malik Beasley heater, it usually means that it's like the offense is humming along, unless it's that Toronto game where it's just a blowout and Malik Beasley is just putting up shots. It's either things are going really, really, really well, or things are going really, really, really bad. And there's no in between. Man, the Bucks have a few players like that. That's not good.
We'll see if that stabilizes over the course of the season.
Just made like a revelation about this team. Let's move on. Let's talk. You mentioned MarJon. Let's talk about the kids. Let's talk about MarJax. Both of them getting minutes in this game. MarJon Beauchamp back after missing the last few games
Yes.
with an ankle sprain and immediately comes back into his carved out rotation role. Like that's a thing. We can say that. Even though it's been, what is this, game 15? It's just he's solidified in the rotation. He earned his spot back right away. Got almost 22 minutes in.
Most minutes of any bench player.
You're right. Yeah, most minutes of any bench player. And was it the greatest 22 minutes that we've seen from MarJon Beauchamp? Probably not. Was it bad? I don't think so. You mentioned here that one gaff where it was like a just an off rhythm three, but when he was locked in, he was getting offensive boards. Like
Yep.
he was just feasting in transition. He was creating like running like lanes in transition, not necessarily like profiting off of it, but drawing the defense back, creating space. That's a skill. That is a skill that like it's often overlooked as just pure speed and transition, because if you're sprinting to the corner, the defense has to follow you. They don't want to give a wide open corner threes. That opens up the lane, that opens up the other corner, it opens up trailers. It's very, very important. So it's good to see MarJon back out there. He did hit a three, 2 of 5 from the field. Just nothing super inspiring from MarJon out there. But Andre Jackson Jr. played a shade under 8 minutes, 7 minutes and 43 seconds. He was putting up some shots, 3 of 4 from the field. He made his only three. I know you're big on Ajax, so I'll let you speak more about him.
I'm not here to spread the gospel of Andre Jackson Jr., but while I'm here, I might as well. I really like him. Every time he's on the floor, there's something positive that he brings. There's just like electricity that he brings, and he's getting fired up, down God knows how many points. I think it was like 18. Hits a three, talks crap back to the Celtics bench, and it's like that's a gamer. I like seeing that, even when things are just going terribly. And immediately when he came in, he puts down a putback dunk, like a tip dunk.
It went over Giannis.
Over Giannis. That was the other thing too. Giannis was like right there, and I was like, no, step aside, old man. I just think this guy, like, I understand, and I will get to MarJon too. I wasn't discouraged by what I was whelmed. I could understand his performance given that he missed 3 games, and it's like, hey, you're going to guard Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for possessions. Good luck. It's not the easiest task. Same for Andre Jackson Jr. But the thing with Ajax, AJJ, we got to talk about the nickname eventually. But
it's Ajax. I think it's Ajax.
Gosh darn it. Okay. Ajax.
AJJ is just so much more tedious to say.
That may be true. I was holding out on that one, but that is a good point right there.
What rolls off the tongue more, Ajax or AJJ?
Ajax for sure.
Yeah. Or do we go Dre? Do we go Dre JJ? Do we go Dre Jax?
Dr. Dre?
Do we go, yeah, maybe we go Dr. Dre.
We got a Dr. G on the bench. We might have a Dr. Dre.
Why don't we just call him Dr. J? I mean, that's not used, is it?
I don't think it is. I think that's not for copyright. I just think there's a level of it was very clear when both guys were out there that there was a level of just the having guys that are just getting down the court and opening up more room to operate for whether it was Dame, Giannis, even when he's not playing well. I just thought like that is what it's just so obvious that we just want to see these young guys play, and it's for obvious reasons. It's something new, but they just bring a level, something different to this team in a very, very real way that it's not even just like they're not even putting up a lot of points, even if Andre Jackson Jr. scored the most points of any bench player in 8 minutes tonight. But like
7 points is just if that's your highest bench scoring, that's not good.
Yeah, that's
like
not
it's
good.
That's nothing against Ajax. I think that's more emblematic of the bench.
Yes, yeah. We saw a good start from them, but in reality, it was, especially when Bobby doesn't have it, that was another part of like you don't have that kind of the second unit spark.
It's that like some people are gonna know what video I'm talking about. It's where they're like trying to. It's these two guys and they're trying to see if like the diamonds are fake or not. And it's like, you don't got it. You don't stop trying to pretend that you out here. You don't got it. That's it. That's what it was for the bench.
Yeah, that was true. But I just think the young guys continue just to bring this level of electricity and just I don't know. There's just a purpose with what they bring that really lifts this team in a very real way that I'm very encouraged to see. What 15 games of the season? I didn't really anticipate seeing this so early, but we'll see if there's still more room to grow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know Ty and I talked about this on a excuse me on a recent pod, but it's when's the last time the Bucks had a dynamic young wings like this? Giannis and Jabari. That's got to be it.
And that was what 25 games, and then 50 games 2 years later. Like
Yeah.
It wasn't like we really wanted Pat, Sterling, and
Jordan Warren.
He wouldn't have been around at that time. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. There's just something different with MarJon and Andre Jackson Jr. In part because they don't
potential.
They have potential, but they also don't like. It's not like just hey, you're gonna stand in the corner and shoot shots and then play defense. Like what Andre Jackson Ajax does.
I've won him over, folks.
Thank you. What Ajax does isn't necessarily like what MarJon does. You know what I mean? Like they have very different skill sets, but those can play together along with the stars and the big wigs.
Yeah, and we even saw that in this game. Like you mentioned earlier, there were a lot of times where they just looked stunned by the moment and were just not ready for this level of basketball. But there was I think it might have been almost all of Ajax's minutes. It came with MarJon on the court. And you could see those lineups just having like frenetic defensive energy. And I'm just like, I remember thinking in the moment, like, man, Giannis is out here with two young players in a game against like your biggest rival, and they don't look out of place. It was stunning to me as someone who's just watched the Bucks for a long time.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time that we've had some.
I think you were thinking of Rashad Vaughn earlier.
I don't think he was on that. I'm thinking first year under Bud.
First year under Bud.
I guess Dante, but then he got hurt too.
Yeah, Dante. It would have been Dante, yeah. I'm just trying to think of just DJ Wilson.
DJ had some moments.
DJ had some moments. OKC Blue legend, DJ Wilson. But no, we're just gonna fall into this pit of naming random guys. I will say on Hoop Grids, you play Hoop Grids?
I do not, but I see a lot of other people play it.
I've one time there's an answer where I could put Rashad Vaughn. I think it was like you would hit so many amount of threes in a game and had played for the Brooklyn Nets, and I was like, oh, this is an obscure one. This is a really obscure one, and I put Rashad Vaughn, and it turned like this purple color I had never seen before. Whoa. Because it was like 0.00 something percent.
Holy cow!
Of people had gotten had put Rashad Vaughn there. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person.
You've read his cookbook. You've seen
Cooking with Shadi. Yeah, exactly. It's just but sorry, I forget. The kids are fun. The kids are absolutely a lot of fun, and it's very, very encouraging to see them play this well. It was under, I found the screenshot. It was under 5 points per game in a season and had played for the Brooklyn Nets. And the YouTube viewers will get to see this, but it's this fun purple color because 0.05% of people had put Rashad Vaughn there. So that's something I'm very proud of.
That is lower than the legal drinking limit. That is crazy.
So that's just a niche NBA nerd thing that I'm very, very, very proud of. But yeah, the kids can play. Since we talked about him a little bit earlier, let's talk about Bobby. Just Bobby Portis this is a matchup where he has to be utilized. It's a matchup where he has to be his best self. He wasn't that. He wasn't that against the Celtics because we've seen in the past when the Bucks have played against the Celtics, if Bobby's humming, there's not a lot you can do to stop this team. Because even if you don't have Giannis out there, or Khris out there, or previously Jrue out there, now Dame out there, you can be Big Bob on the ass, like you can. I love that so much. Uh, it, like you can rely on Bobby to go get buckets. And he was off. He airballed like was one of his size up jumpers, and I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening here?
Yeah, when you see that, it's like, oh, we're not gonna see what we have seen from Bobby. I didn't think I thought, as we've seen throughout the whole year, I thought he competed well defensively. There are just spots where he just can't, you're asking him to rotate a lot to shooters, or he gets switched on to a Tatum or a Brown, and it's like, well, let's see if he can lead to a miss or anything like that. And it's just like, you kind of have to live with it. But yeah, no offensive lift, really struggled to kind of force the issue. Was a good rebounder on the defensive end, but was kind of outmatched on the offensive end. Tonight was a weird night with the two big lineups with him and Brook. But again, the boss man injury kind of just like, if you're talking about putting out your give you a shot to rally the troops, Bobby and Brook are gonna have to play sometimes. Like that's kind of the nature of it. But yeah, it was. I first saw a down Bobby game, but I just didn't see it in the way that we didn't see him giving much spark to the offense at all, which is obviously disappointing.
Yeah, disappointing, but it's like it wasn't just him. It was a lot of different players.
Yeah, campaign bashing night for him.
Yeah, he'd been coming off a heater too. So
had only attempted 2 shots, which is weird. I thought he kind of I also thought he played a lot more than he actually did. He only played 20 minutes.
yeah, and I thought he grabbed a lot more rebounds than he did, only 3,
Yeah.
because he was out there fighting for rebounds. Like
Yes, he was.
he was doing like vintage Pat Connaughton stuff, which is just really, it's a funny sentence to say, Jordan.
I think we just found our most average NBA player.
Oh my God, you might be right. It was staring us in the face this whole time. It might be Pat Connaughton.
It might be Pat, because it's like, yeah, he can hit threes. He could defend pretty well in spots. He's not a passer, but he could make passes.
You don't want him running a pick and roll, but he's done it.
I rest my case.
It might. I think you nailed it, Jordan. I think it's Pat. I think it's. But I will say, your average NBA player does not get Damian Lillard. So
no, he's not. He may be an average player, but he's not an average GM.
There you go. He's always thinking business. He's clocking in and clocking out.
3 leaf, 4 life.
It's just so funny when he says, like, when he's at his other job. Like, it's just so funny. Like, he's just out here working like a couple part-time jobs or something.
Grinding. He's always grinding.
He's grinding. Peter Fagan loves it. I mean, good for him. Pat, you do you. Just I'll stop talking. But yeah, Pat, I thought, had a bigger impact on this game than the box score really says.
Yeah.
Obviously a homecoming for him. Always Boston Pat. It's the thing is, this was a down Boston Pat game, because usually he'll like hit a few threes, but it's just his role in the rotation is just it's do whatever needs to be done. You don't need to be like constrained to one archetype of role anymore, because the Bucks have a bunch of versatile wings now, like we had just talked about. Unfortunately, no boss man, but Ajax, MarJon, like these are guys who can do multiple different things. So one of Pat's greatest strengths was his versatility, but it's not as needed anymore. It's still good, but it's not as needed anymore. So he's not pigeonholed into one thing. But I thought, I don't know, we don't have to spend a ton of time on Pat, but thought he was fine.
Yeah, thought he was fine. Took up tough defensive assignments, and again was kind of fine. Guys hit shots, but they also missed shots.
Yeah. One guy who also had a bit of a disappointing performance, even though there was a lot riding on it, Khris Middleton.
Yeah.
Listeners know I made my bet that if Khris scores 40 in this game, I would buy my first ever piece of Bucks gear, and it would be a Khris Middleton jersey. Was I hedging?
What kind of jersey would it have been?
I think I would have bought the statement one, like the black with the deer antlers.
Oh,
Because
that
that's
would
just
be quite the statement.
it's yeah, there you go. I think
Yep.
it's such a clean jersey with the antlers and stuff, and it would look good. But Khris, he was just trying to save me whatever 150 bucks, whatever it is. I appreciate you, my guy. I'm kidding, obviously. 4 of 14. He did it for Milwaukee, but he didn't do it for Milwaukee in the best way possible, because maybe 4-1-4 can be done in a different way. Like you're shooting 41% from three with 4 made free throws. There's your 4-1-4 right there in a box score. I don't know.
You found it, but it took a while to get there, didn't it?
I was like Khris Middleton. I was more like Damian Lillard, but we're talking about Khris right now. But he played 28 minutes, his highest minutes in a game this season, which was very, very encouraging to see. I was thankfully watching the Bally Sports was that's a weird thing to say as well. Thankfully, I was watching Bally Sports Wisconsin, but I was listening to Lisa and Marcus talk about this game rather than Mark Jones and Dorisberg on ESPN. Nothing against those people, but I just couldn't for Bucks Celtics on ESPN. I just could not.
I like supporting the local broadcasts.
I do not like supporting Bally Sports.
I mean, it's the necessary evil that we have to fight, don't we? It's the only provider that provides all these Bucks games, and yet we all hate it.
For now.
I
think they got another year. I think minimum.
We're looking at the clock.
I'm not wearing a watch. But yeah, it's just Khris Middleton played his highest minutes total. The reason I bring up the Bally Sports Wisconsin broadcast is when he checked out early in the fourth quarter, Marcus Johnson noted that, yeah, he's at like 22 minutes. That's probably the last we've seen of Khris. And then when Khris comes back in, I think with around 4 minutes, something like that.
It was early, and it was still the game you wouldn't have thought that he would come in.
I think no, it was like 7 minutes left or something, because that's when they started like making their final run. Like Giannis came back as well.
Yeah.
And Marcus was like, "Oh, okay, here we go, Khris Middleton, you're gonna play." And he played 28 minutes, 35 seconds in this game, which is very encouraging. I will say that.
He came in at the 6:44 mark when the Bucks were down 15.
That's a move. That's a sign of faith in your guys by Adrian Griffin. Like, hey, give it one more last hurrah. Go try your best, and they almost did it. But yeah, Khris Middleton, if anything, one of the biggest takeaways from this game is just Khris playing almost 30 minutes in a game, which is, like I mentioned, his highest minute total in a game this season. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Friday against the Wizards. Hopefully, I will knock on wood and say this. Hopefully, they don't need Khris Middleton to play 30 minutes a game in the game against the Washington Wizards. But anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Especially in the in-season tournament.
It will be an in-season tournament game. You're right. Bucks looking to make a solid step forward towards securing Group B. But yeah, Khris Middleton, 4 of 14 from the field, just could not get anything to fall. He had a lot of shots near the rim. That is probably his highest rim attempts in a game this season. I could look that up later. But it just wasn't falling for him. It really wasn't. And you could tell, like, yeah, he's not used to doing this. He really isn't. Like, there were a couple times where he was just driving and getting easy looks, good looks, and just not converting. And I say easy looks relative for NBA players, by the way. But it's not like he's blowing bunnies, but he's not campaign blowing a bunny. We forgot to mention that, by the way. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. That was not good.
It was very Brandon Knight of him to do. Less stake. The stakes were quite as high. But yeah, Khris Middleton just not being able to create and like hit shots within 2-point range. Like, he's 2 of 5 from 3, which is okay. You'll take that. But if you're 2 of what is that, 9 inside the arc. That's
Yeah,
not good. That's not
not
good at
good.
all. That's not going to get it done.
No. Yeah, we didn't see him hit his Khris shots.
He didn't even attempt a lot of his Khris shots. It
No,
was a weird
I'm looking at
shot
his shooting.
selection.
I'm looking at his shooting chart right now. He was 2 of 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 of 7 in the paint. Only 2 shots from
Mid-range, yeah.
yeah, from mid-range areas. Defensively too, just he gave a good fight, but he's gonna be really taxed in one-on-one situations against a guy like Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, who looked improved tonight with his shimmying, his ability to separate from defenders and stuff like that.
Jalen, he threw it down a windmill dunk in the half court.
That was pretty cool.
It's always Jaylen Brown against the Bucks. I was messaging Ty before the game talking about this, and I was like, yeah, Jaylen Brown's gonna have 35 guaranteed. And I mean, he didn't have 35. What did he end up with? 26. But it was like, yeah, I guarantee Jaylen Brown's gonna go off against the Bucks.
He's the best shooting night by far except for Porzingis. They're kind of equal par, but for a guy that was driving the offense, like it's a different level of shot making efficiency that is harder with Brown than it is Porzingis.
Yeah, but Jaylen Brown's going to be a guy that cooks Khris Middleton defensively.
Yep.
And this is it's not the best matchup for Khris, which is why you hopefully have a guy like Bossman 99 back in the starting lineup, or back in the lineup, and hopefully in the starting lineup when it comes down to games actually mattering. Because you don't want Khris matched up like against Jason Tatum, because that's what it was like for a lot of time. He was either on Jason Tatum or he was on Jaylen Brown. I mean, Giannis also got the Jaylen Brown assignment at times as well. Helped off him a bit too much. We didn't talk about this when we talked about Giannis. Giannis fell asleep on defense a few times as well. Just
ball watch.
Yeah, he was ball watching a lot. Didn't get out to shooters because he was ball watching. So yeah, just adding to the not great game from Giannis. Not narrative, it's fact. But I don't know what else to use. I don't know what else words to use. I remember I'm putting up a stinker in terms of words. But Khris Middleton, just to put a bow on it, it's not great. I mean, it's good that he played a lot of minutes, but the minutes he played were
7 assists.
7 assists was really good. 7 assists was really good considering
no turnovers.
Yeah, like that's really good. Just the offensive output in terms of shot making wasn't great. Everything else was pretty good. But if you want Chris's ideal role in this team is being an offensive engine.
Yep.
He did not perform like that. But the good thing is, I'm glad you called out the assist, because the good thing about a guy like Khris Middleton is even if his shot's not falling, he's still going to find ways to impact the game. He's not just a black hole on the court if he's not making a shot.
No.
He's not your average NBA player.
He's not your average James.
Yeah, he's not your average James.
Oh, who else? Did we touch on anybody? I guess Dame. We didn't really talk. Yeah, we didn't really talk about Dame.
Yeah, I was saving Dame because he really showed up late, which is why I wanted to talk about him late, because my goodness, it wasn't the prettiest game from Damian Lillard, but if you can, go 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from deep for 11 points in the fourth quarter to try and will your team back into a game where you were down 20 plus points. I mean, yeah, that's good. I mean, it's a shame that it took that long to get there, but I'm glad it happened. Like he ended this game with 27 points. Just bad shooting efficiency, especially from deep. 3 of 10 from deep. But yeah, if you're gonna put up 27 points, be the second leading scorer on this team next to the GOAT Brook Lopez, this game didn't really move me, because at the end of the day, it ended up being sort of an average Damian Lillard game, which is just crazy. It's just that is insane.
Yeah, 3 of 11 at halftime. So 20-point second half. Hit big shots late. I thought his game really changed when he wasn't settling for threes, when he was getting downhill. It was really ticked off about the officiating tonight, and rightfully so on some occasions. But Dame is obviously finding his shot, but when he gets downhill and is doing it against really good defenders, like he's got Jrue on him, he's got Derek White on him, who's a really good defender and
first team all defense.
Yes, first team all defense. He decided to cut it all off. And he's finishing over Kristaps Porzingis or Al Horford. Like Dame is a lot more explosive than I had given credit for when they, got the trade. I was not familiar with that part of his game, as that meme is.
Oh, Shaq. It's I apologize, I wasn't familiar with your game. And you know what the funniest thing about that is that's in response to Christian Wood, I think, of all people.
I think you're right. Yeah, it is definitely Christian Wood. Yeah.
It's just so funny. Like, maybe you shouldn't have apologized. Like, maybe that's an average NBA player, Christian Wood.
I wouldn't necessarily say so because he is like 7 foot and can do things that like.
Does he though?
He can.
Does he?
He did at points. Or when he was a Buck, that was another thing.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I thought Dame's offense or game in total like really got off the ground when he was getting downhill and did really well defensively. The guy was fighting through traps, and when he was matched on one-on-ones, I thought he was getting really into guys' grill. I was very intrigued by his performance, and I know it was not the best shooting night, but everything else is mostly there in a lot of ways. Once he got through the bad 0 for 6 start and making that terrible that pass, like the outlet pass early on, I was like, oh yeah, that was just like it wasn't there. But once you got through all that, Dame had a really good night.
Yeah, I thought it was just like he just needed to find his footing, and it's just I think Ty tweeted this, but it was very emblematic of the Bucks game that just Dame trying to go for a quick 2 ended up hitting front iron on a dunk attempt. Like
yes,
it's like the idea is good, the execution wasn't.
Yeah.
Dame had dunked one time in that game, and he got like a little overconfident about that. But even that dunk he had was because he went out there and he stripped Peyton Pritchard, fast PP, and just took it down the length of the court, or half the length of the court. That was at like half court, and dunked the ball. Like, yeah, he was fighting. And I'm really glad you pointed that out, because a lot of people keep wanting to say that Damian Lillard is just an absolute negative on the defensive end. Is it his strongest aspect of his game? Absolutely not. Is he an absolute strength on defense? No. Is he going to compete out there? Is he going to try? Is he going to put in effort more than he has in the past as a Portland Trailblazer? Yes. And that's what we've been seeing so far. And he can make an impact. It's not going to be like, he's not Jrue Holiday. But no. He's fighting. He's not like gonna let people walk over him.
Yeah, I really liked what he did defensively. And again, Bucks gave up 119 points. Celtics shot 17 of 42 from 3. That at one point it was 12 of 20 at halftime. So
they made 6 in the first quarter.
Yeah, it fell off and it still ended in a good way where we'd easily trade that stat line for what the Bucks did. But I thought for what we saw defensively was a lot more encouraging than we have seen maybe all season.
Yeah. The Celtics, by the way, made 1 less 3 in the first half than the Bucks did in the entire game.
There you go.
Yeah, they made 12 in the first half. Bucks had 13.
That's hard to come back from. That's hard
and they almost did it.
They almost did it. How are you feeling, Rohan?
I've just completely flipped. I'm feeling a little bit encouraged by this. Thank you for talking me through it, Jordan.
That's what this is for.
It's just therapy for me. That's what this is. It's just therapy, but somehow it's content as well, and I appreciate everyone listening. One player we should probably talk about on the Boston Celtics is Jrue Holiday. We haven't really touched on this a whole lot, but this is the first game the Bucks have played against Jrue Holiday since the trade, and it was sort of a like I don't think the players really have hard feelings towards each other. There's a video of a nice moment where Jrue Holiday was in the Bucks locker room before the game. Usually these are things that happen after the game, but before the game, Jrue Holiday is out there catching up with everyone in the Bucks locker room, having some fun with Brook, with TA, with Pat, all these guys. Goes and shakes Giannis's hand, which is very, very amusing to me. Goes just like seemingly has a like great relationship with everyone. I miss him. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss Jrue Holiday. I wish if in a perfect world they would have gotten Dame without having to give up Jrue Holiday or Khris or anyone. Obviously not anyone, but like if you could keep Dame or keep Jrue and add Dame, like that'd be perfect. But it wasn't realistic. This is what happened. He's now on the Bucks' biggest rival. Worst case scenario, but it was good to see him. It was good to see his beautiful face. It was you didn't it wasn't a game where you're like, yeah, I regret trading Jrue Holiday.
No, it reminded me of how Jrue played the last time I saw him play in a Bucks uniform.
He really did.
The only Celtic that scored in single digits, and the only shot that he made was a 3-pointer.
Only Celtics. Oh my God, he's the only. I was about to say the only Celtic starter, but he's literally the only.
Yeah.
To be fair, they went with an 8-man rotation. No Luke Cornett in this game.
No Svi Mihailuk.
Yes. No Svi Mihailuk. But wow, he was the only Celtic.
Yeah.
He only made one.
He's not shot well.
He made one shot.
Yeah.
Went 2 of 2 from the line. Yeah, it wasn't a game where you're like, oh man, I really miss Jrue Holiday. I mean, that's like I mean that with the utmost respect. People should know how I feel about Jrue Holiday. Like I just mentioned, I wish they could have kept him. He is a Bucks legend. Hopefully there comes a time where no one's going to wear 21 again based on what he's done for the franchise. I hope he comes back to the Milwaukee Bucks at some point in his career. But responsible.
If he doesn't retire in 2025.
Yeah. Responsible for one of the greatest plays, if not the greatest play in franchise history.
Mm-hmm.
Just an absolute Milwaukee Bucks legend hero. So I mean that with the utmost respect when I say this was not a game where you regret trading Jrue Holiday.
No, not at all. Even with him putting an imprint defensively, we know what he can bring.
Describe the imprint that he made in this game.
I thought he made it uncomfortable for Giannis to kind of get into his bag, if you will. Like he was guarding him face up, and the lanes that would open up for Giannis to dribble and get kind of maneuver himself weren't as open as they were against, again, the Washington Wizards.
Washington. As some people like to say. But yeah, it's like, did he have a positive impact defensively? I don't think it was the greatest positive impact. I mean, was it positive? Yeah, but was it peak Jrue Holiday levels? I wouldn't say so.
No, I wouldn't say so either.
I think the matchups against Giannis ended a lot of times with Giannis just missing baskets. Did he make things uncomfortable? Yeah, absolutely. Like he's one of the best in the business to do it, but it's just Giannis is just a lot bigger than him. It's like you can it's sort of the Eric Bledsoe problem, but just amplified, because it's like, yeah, Eric Bledsoe, good defender, but a lot of guys would just be bigger than him. Jrue Holiday does not have that problem with most perimeter players because, he's just bigger. But yeah, with a guy like Giannis, like any like 7-footer, Giannis is officially a 7-footer, which is fun. But with any 7-footer, it's just, yeah, he's just bigger.
Yeah.
It's like, did he do his best to disrupt whatever rhythm he could? Yeah. But it's not going to be the end all be all. Like Jrue Holiday is not going to be a Giannis stopper.
No. Nor was he a LeBron stopper when the Bucks would put him on LeBron.
He wasn't a Jimmy Butler stopper, I'll tell you that much.
No, he was not. If anything, he was a
Jimmy Butler enabler.
Yeah, he enabled Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
James Butler. Now that's not an average Jim either.
Yeah, that's not in there. Oh my goodness. Too many James, too many Jims to go around. Maybe that's why they go by different names. It's just imagine if Khris went by James. Like James Middleton. Checking in number 22 for the Milwaukee Bucks, James Middleton.
That's actually that would be funny if like they put his like Khris Middleton's in the record books, and then he's all of a sudden he's like 50 or something like that. He's like, can you put down James, please?
I actually want to go by James now. Yeah, it's like
too late.
I guess we'll change all our graphics. Do you like at least the last name's the same, so we don't have to change the jersey that's in the rafters. You know, maybe we have to change the statue. I don't know. To James, but it's like Khris. Do you really? James, do you really want to do this? Like, Khris is so cool. You were Cash Money. What are we supposed to do with that now? We can't use that anymore.
James Money
just doesn't hit the same. It sounds like some weird tax loophole.
Or a bad bank.
A bad bank, James Money. Again, this is the problem when you put me and Jordan on the pod.
Sorry, everybody.
No. It's both. It's just a combination of both of us. Should we do stocks? We've sort of alluded to stocks. So for this game, we've already decided that Giannis is going to have a 2 down stock game. He's at 45, going to 43. He's putting up TA jersey number stock out here, but yeah, just not the best game from Giannis. Like we don't even need to rehash it, but wasn't the great like defensive game as well as the offensive stinker.
Yes. I feel very comfortable giving him a down 2.
Yeah. Brook Lopez, though, I'd say give him an up. Absolutely give him an up.
Up 2?
Up 2.
This might be a season high.
It was his season high.
Well, I knew that. I know that. I'm just saying I don't think we'll see a lot of other games where Brook scores 28 this year. That might be me going out on a limb.
I don't know. It's tough to give up double up stocks in a loss. But he played so well. The only reason I would be hesitant against it is that the previous 4 games he's gotten 3 up stocks.
That's fair.
It would also take him into 30 territory right away, which would the only other players 30 plus are Dame and Giannis, which I feel is also valid.
Brook might be in that company soon, though.
I think he is in that company.
Especially, I know it wasn't he wasn't blocking shots like crazy tonight, but again, when you're giving your team a lift like you did offensively, almost getting 30 points.
That's where I would sort of hesitate. One, double up stock and a loss feels icky, and also he wasn't the greatest defensively.
Yeah,
it wasn't a prime Brook Lopez defensive game. Which, if he did that, that's a double up stock for sure, regardless of the outcome. But
let's stick with one.
Okay. Do we feel any movement for Dame? I don't think so.
No, with Dame,
I'd say it's a push.
Probably in the end. If this game had swung a win, he definitely would.
If he had led a 4th quarter comeback for a win, that would be different than, like, let's say he gets fouled on an and one dunk instead of front ironing. That's a tough one. To like a dunk to cut it to a 1-point game.
Yeah,
that's it. Like that would be an upstock for sure, considering just how raucous that moment would be. I think it's a push.
Yeah, I'll keep with that as a push.
Okay, Khris Middleton.
I would say
I'd
down.
I'd say it's a down. He did play a lot and he did play make, but just,
It's hard to overcome the Milwaukee shooting line.
yeah, it's a. I wish there was a way for it to be 41-4, but that just doesn't make any sense. Uh, but yeah, it's unfortunately a down stock for Khris Middleton there. Pat Connaughton, I'd say is a push.
Push.
I'd say Bobby's maybe a push,
I was going into this with a
maybe a
down for him.
down.
I would say push. I didn't.
I wasn't really moved.
Yeah,
Malik Beasley, I say is a push,
push.
considering how well he played defensively. MarJon, I would also say is a push,
Push. Yeah.
especially coming back from injury. Campaign, you could convince me of a down, but he's
Down for that bunny alone.
yeah, that's fair.
You can't miss that bunny. And I mean, he also shot 1 of 5. Didn't play all that much, which some people may say, well, that's not really down worthy, but he didn't look that great.
Yeah. Ajax, maybe, but he's already higher than MarJon.
Some would say that may be fitting. Also because he's played a couple more games
Yes.
with MarJon.
I'm leaning push, considering it wasn't a large sample, less than 8 minutes.
It's 8 minutes. Yeah. I would I want to give him up, but I would say push.
And then no one else really played.
No.
So
Yeah.
I think that's our final stocks here. Is you have Giannis down 2, Khris down 1, Brook up 1, and Campaign down 1.
There it is.
Any qualms with that?
No, I'm right there with you. Dame would maybe be the guy that would argue for more, but I understand it was too big to ignore how poor of a start they got up to.
Yeah, he had a down stock in the first half and then an up stock in the second half.
Yeah.
That's just no movement. That's like the
Yes.
definition of a push. It's not the definition of a push, but it averages to a push is what I meant to say. Just yeah. Do we have anything else we need to talk about? I guess we can preview the schedule coming up here. In that, like we already mentioned, that the Bucks are playing on Friday against the Washington Wizards back at home.
Thank God.
Yeah, for game 3 of the in-season tournament play, 3 out of 4 in group play. I believe if the Bucks beat the Wizards and the Knicks beat the Heat, the Bucks clinch Group B.
I think so.
So something to keep your eye on. Do I think that the Knicks are going to beat the Heat? Not with the way the Heat are playing, but
No,
anything
they won
can
tonight
happen.
overwhelmingly over Cleveland.
Oh, did they? Well,
I believe so.
I believe you.
Yeah, 129 to 96.
Sheesh. No Donovan Mitchell though.
Oh, well, that would explain it.
I mean, those Cavs, sans Donovan Mitchell, did beat the Sixers last night.
That is true. Also,
Yeah.
the Heat did not have Bam Adebayo. Haywood Highsmith started.
Oh.
And yeah, they still wiped the floor of them.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, I take
no Kevin Love either.
Oh. I'm less moved by that. But it's less of an impact that Kevin Love is out compared to Bam Adebayo. He's been the best player for the Heat this season.
True.
But yeah, the Bucks play on Friday against the Wizards at home in-season tournament game, like we mentioned, and then they play again at home against the Portland Trailblazers on Sunday at 2:30. And here's a fun stat I saw. Since I think Bud took over, the Bucks are under 500 on Sundays. They're 10 and 11. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they are 10 and 11 on Sundays.
Well, I'll be at that game.
Oh, hope here's to getting back to 500.
Yeah, let's get back. Well, also Bud's no longer there.
Yeah, but I'm saying since like the
Oh,
Bucks have been good.
since, yeah, it's basically since 2018. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's hope they get back to 500 because
It's the
that's
only day of the week they're under 500.
that is weird. That's a
It's
weird stat.
I don't know if it's since 2018. I wish I had the tweet to give credit and get it right, but it's since some year that the Bucks are 10 and 11 on Sundays. And it makes me think that it might be like even further back because I remember even during the kid days the Bucks would just struggle on Sunday matinee games. And hopefully for your sake, Jordan, that doesn't happen. Also, it's a big game considering that it's Dame's first time ever playing against the Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be one heck of a game. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Portland fans at that game. I know some of them wanted to make the trip out to Milwaukee, so shout out to Portland fans. Hope you enjoy the city. I know that's a meme. I did not mean that in a bad way. I genuinely hope you enjoy the city of Milwaukee. I'm gonna stop talking before I get myself in trouble.
It's
But
okay.
then the Bucks play their final in-season tournament game of group play on Tuesday in Miami against the Miami Heat at 6:30 Central. And again, like I mentioned earlier, there's a chance that that game does not matter for actually clinching the group, or
The group.
if the Bucks win and the Heat win on Friday, that game decides who wins Group B, which is very, very,
That's true.
very
Yeah.
interesting. It'll come down to that. I wouldn't be shocked if the loser of that game ends up being a wild card team, though. But it'll be very interesting to see if it comes down to Bucks Heat playing in high stakes games again. Will my heart be able to take it? Probably not. Will I be getting like having flashbacks? Absolutely. But
Bucks will have to play on that court.
oh my God, they will.
Wait, is that their in-season tournament court? I don't know if that is.
No, it's not. No, it's not the Heat culture
their
court.
in-season tournament court is not much better, if I remember correctly.
It's very red.
It's very red. It's gonna
very
hurt
red.
my eyes.
It is insanely red. The Bucks they've only played in-season tournament games at home, I believe. Am I right?
Yeah.
No, they played Charlotte. I'm done.
Oh, they played Charlotte. That's right. Yeah.
So they played on a blue court. They played on the cream court of the Bucks, and now they'll be playing at home, but then they'll get the ultimate test.
The red.
With the red of the Miami Heat's court. So that'll be very interesting to see coming up. Also, for the rest of the month, the Bucks will play the Chicago Bulls in Chicago on Thursday, November 30th, to round out the month. So with the Wizards, Blazers, Heat, and Bulls, that is 3 games you absolutely should win. The Heat are going to be a tough matchup, as they always are. But those are 3 teams that have no idea what they are doing. And you need to get back on track immediately if you're the Bucks. You need to have a statement game against the Wizards and just absolutely wipe the floor with them.
Yeah. Which hopefully they can do.
Yeah. And then do it for Jordan and for Dame on Sunday. But yeah, that's the Bucks' upcoming schedule. And unless you have anything else need to talk about, I remember saying before we started, I don't think this pod's going to go over an hour. Here we are. There's a lot to talk about when it's Bucks Celtics, and I hope everyone has enjoyed it. But unless you have anything else to say, Jordan, I'll wrap this up and say thank you for listening to this episode here on GSPN, this Gyro Step Win in 6 crossover. Make sure you check out gspn.info for all of our pods. Jordan, you are going to be busy considering that the Green Bay Packers are playing on Thanksgiving, but before they actually play the game, they have a chance to check out a pod. Do you want to tell them about it?
Yes, Talk of the Tundra, GSPN's Packers podcast. Yeah, we'll be talking about the Packers facing the Lions. Actually, scratch that. I'll be talking about it because I'm doing a little solo recap pod. And you'll hear that sometime probably on Friday after the game. And the Packers have a lot of injuries. We'll see how they fare.
It was so funny seeing the Lions injury report.
It's one guy that is in doubt of
is he out? I think he's out.
I think he's out. And then there was 17 players on the injury report Tuesday for the Packers. So
it was Andy Herman. Shout out Andy Herman, who had tweeted just like laughing emojis or something like at the Lions injury report. But in promoting the preview pod, the absolute great preview pod that you and Numak did with two guests, um, it was funny in that promo tweet. It was just like, yeah, for the first time since 2013, the Packers are playing on Thanksgiving. Can't believe it's been 10 years. It
I
does
was
not feel
very
like 10
thrown off
years.
by that.
I feel like it was like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I thought they had one under LaFleur, but they
Yeah,
obviously had not.
yeah, 10 years. It's crazy. They get to get absolutely pounded by the Lions. That's gonna be fun.
Carved to death by the Lions.
Or not, or not. Maybe Jordan loves him. I'll let you talk about it because you know way more than I do.
He can be him, but sometimes he's not him. That's Jordan Love's problem.
Would you say he's an average NFL player? No, we committed to the bit too far.
He may be average now. Let's see if he can grow into not being above average.
There you go. There you go. Make sure you check out Talk of the Tundra. Find links at gspn.info as well as all of our other links. But as for this podcast, hopefully you're subscribed wherever you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube. But if you're listening on your podcast platform of choice, make sure you're subscribed. Leave a 5-star rating and review. And even on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any fun content here on this channel. But yeah, Discord entry link, Substack, all that fun stuff is at gspn.info. Pod random, and we will talk to you next time.